There's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hello and welcome to Cancelled. I am Claire Stevens, and on this podcast we talk about the people that you've got a bit of a funny feeling about. The ones where you go, didn't they do a thing at some point that I'm meant to care about and be potentially outraged about? I do a bunch of research on those people, and I am joined by my sister.
Hello, it's me, Jessie Stevens, your sister. I host a bunch of podcasts and I accidentally just brought up my notes for true crime.
Okay.
And they're not relevant.
Oh, this is about crime.
Was Bruce considered a suspect is my question today for you. So, look, I do have some notes. You and I are not in the same room today because I still have a broken leg. And I have decided that having a broken leg is childish and juvenile. Discuss.
It's embarrassing. I wasn't going to say it's like being a twin.
Yes.
It's embarrassing. Like, why haven't you grown out of it?
Yes. We have a friend who every time she remembers we're twins, she thinks only children are twins. To be an adult twin is to still be quite immature and juvenile. Yes. And I actually very much agree with that.
Yeah, the broken leg is embarrassing. I didn't want to say it when you were really struggling with your mental health, but now you seem a bit cheerier. It is humiliating, but that's not what this is about. This podcast is about justice, because some celebrity crimes are worse than others, and what we need, Jessie, is punishments that fit the crimes, just like in real court cases. So, Jess, on trial today, we have John Mayer.
Hi, I'm John Mayer here in the studio with Kanye West. You know, people wanted to know what happens when one of the sexiest, flyest in the whole game and Kanye West get together to hang out in the studio, find out how does a hit happen.
John Mayer is a 44-year-old award-winning singer and songwriter, best known for his objectively very good music, but also problematic relationships with and comments about women. Some great John Mayer songs include Your Body is a Wonderland. Jessie, could you sing a little bit?
Your body is a wonderland.
Beautiful.
Something like that.
Also, Waiting on the World to Change and Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. Did you want to try either of those?
I don't know how Slow Dancing in a Burning Room goes.
Oh, that's weird. How about Waiting on the World to Change?
Waiting on the world to change. And so on. Right?
Yep, great. A fun fact.
Speaking of, my memory of John Mayer, and I have to put this on the table here because John Mayer is triggering for me. Okay. And I haven't told you before about this memory, but I would like to work through it. I'm 14 and I've tried out for every sport at school because on Thursdays you would play a sport. So like netball, soccer, hockey, swimming, and I didn't make any of the teams. But you had to go and do something. And so I was put against my will into 10-pin bowling. And on Thursday afternoons I would be taken to 10-pin bowling and none of my friends, because I had two friends and they got into other sports. And I don't know what you were doing. I think you were doing fucking trampoline.
I was doing ice skating.
Ice skating, right, yeah. So I had to go to bowling. And I arrive, I have my bowling shoes. It smells like bowling. And it becomes clear that no one wants me on their team.
Okay.
Because there were like 4 people in each bowling team. And on the televisions, do you remember the televisions that they had above the bowling?
Yeah.
The 10-pin thing? Is just playing John Mayer, Your Body is a Wonderland. And every time I hear that song, I think of ostracism, I think of loneliness, and I think of being this bucked-toothed 14-year-old with a lanyard around my neck with my bus pass and my keys attached to it with no friends.
Did you feel like your body wasn't a wonderland?
I knew he wasn't singing about me, Claire. I knew it. I was looking down at my pigeon-toed, orthotic, cheap school shoes that were wrong. And I remember a teacher looking at me with such pity and going, "Do you have a team?" And I said, "No." And then I was put with girls older than me that didn't want me there.
Okay. Well, John Mayer probably can't be held accountable for that, but he can be held accountable for many other things. A fun fact is that in 2009, Guy Sebastian invited Mayer to collaborate on 3 songs on his album, Like It Like That. And it's a bit like Chris Martin introducing himself in Shane Warne's documentary, in that I'm like, no, Guy Sebastian isn't the celebrity here.
Yes.
John Mayer is.
Exactly.
But Guy Sebastian is like, if you want to, we can collaborate. What?
You know what it's like? It's like me going, oh, I'm an author. I might ask J.K. Rowling if she wants to collaborate on my next book.
Exactly. You've got the power dynamic wrong. Mayer is confirmed to have been romantically involved with Jennifer Love Hewitt, Jessica Simpson, Jennifer Aniston, Renee Zellweger, Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, and rumoured to have had flings with Miley Cyrus, Kim Kardashian, Vanessa Carlton and Cameron Diaz, and many more. In 2018, he confirmed he has slept with less than 500 women.
This confirms what I've always felt about John Mayer, which is that he's a man who oozes, I'm good at sex with my penis. That's what he says. When he walks into a room, when he gets onto a stage, when he posts on Instagram, it's like, I got a dick. And I didn't ask. I don't like it. It irks me. But he clearly has sex appeal because there is no man in Hollywood who has slept with as many women as John Mayer.
Maybe Pete Davidson? Not Pete Davidson.
No!
Maybe Pete Davidson once he goes through his rampage. He is mid-rampage.
Yes, because he's quite settled now with Kimmy K. And even with Ariana, they got married. So he's quite serious in his escapades, whereas John Mayer is very much like 2 months, 2 months, 2 months.
It's the big dick energy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I can't express the extent to which I'm certain that he has a huge penis.
He does have a huge penis. And it's not just, I'm sorry to say this, but it's just got to be said. It's not just huge when it's erect. He is a man who walks around
knowing that it's always big.
Knowing that it's huge, like Greg Norman. Now, there are images of Greg Norman
and
walking
John
around
Hamm
on a beach, and John Hamm, and their willies it's a cold, windy day.
It's flapping.
Yet it's slapping in the wind. And that is John Mayer. He walks around knowing that he has something dangling between his knees, and that gives him the confidence of John Mayer.
Totally agree. When Framing Britney Spears came out last year, John Mayer said he almost cried 5 times. And my question is like, why almost? Why 5 times anyway? But everyone was like, wait, you're also awful to women. So why are you drawing a line here? Jessie, I'm going to need you to be John Mayer's PR person.
I can do that.
Just explain some things to me. You know, you don't have to necessarily defend him, but I need your spin, and I need, like, what was he trying to do at that time when he did that interview?
Okay. I'm going to name myself Bruce off the true crime notes I accidentally had up.
Great. He's a suspect?
Yes, Mr. Bruce. And that's going to be the underlying question of this podcast is, what is Bruce a suspect for?
Yeah.
Okay?
We'll find out at the end. Let's start with a story about Jessica Simpson. Jessie, my favourite thing about this podcast is when worlds collide and other cancelled people or things intersect. And it happens more than you would think it would.
That's why we call it cancelled along the way.
Exactly. But everything went wrong for John Mayer with a 2010 Playboy interview when he spoke to the magazine and shared sexually explicit details about his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Simpson. They started dating in 2006. That was after Jessica's divorce from Nick Lachey, and they were on and off. Then there was this 2010 interview where he said some horrible things, and that's what made her delete his number for good. Here's what he said. That girl for me is a drug, and drugs aren't good for you if you do lots of them. Yeah, that girl is like crack cocaine to me. Sexually, it was crazy. That's all I'll say. It was like napalm, sexual napalm. Have you ever been with a girl who made you want to quit the rest of your life? No. Did you ever say, I want to quit my life and just effing snort you? I would start selling all my shit just to keep effing you. In 2010, she released a memoir called Open Book, where she wrote about the toxic nature of her relationship with John Mayer. And she said he was obsessed with her but not in love with her. She said she was constantly worried that she wasn't smart enough for him and would get friends to check her messages for spelling and grammar errors before she sent them.
John Mayer is the type of guy who I think would have explicitly said multiple times, you're not smart enough for me.
Yeah.
That's why.
And like made points about her messages. And it's like, Jessica's from the South. Do you know what I mean? Like, let her be her. She said 1 minute he was explaining the start of his Rolex collection, and then another he was going on about a collector who he was jealous of, then the nature of jealousy, then the concept of time and the heft of it on your wrist.
No, just because you talk about I went out with a guy once who always wanted to talk about the concept of time. He was the same guy I spoke about a few weeks ago who drank all the coffee and made himself sick. Yeah. That really sums it up. Just because you stop and ponder the concept of time doesn't make you smart.
I also would like on the record, people who are into watches. No to that. Watches.
You have too much money.
You have too much money and too much time.
As Mr. Bruce, I have a defense of the way that he spoke about Jessica Simpson. And I understand that you as a woman, you're all like a little bit ooh in the whole, are you addicted to Jessica Simpson's sexuality thing? But as a man, as Bruce, I'm like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Ew. I guess Playboy was for Bruce and not for me.
Exactly. And as men who are fantasizing about Jessica Simpson, what we've done here is a very clever play because we're clever men and Jessica Simpson is a stupid woman. What we've done is we've capitalized on Jessica Simpson's sexuality for our own gain.
Okay.
Which is we've made you think of her naked and like having sex and just like, yeah, I'm snorting her. Snorting what, where? You tell me. But we're snorting Jessica Simpson. We're capitalizing off that. And there are a lot of people listening that are going,
oh yeah.
Which is John Mayer's essence, is that sound.
Oh.
It's disgusting.
He broke up with Jessica Simpson 9 times, all over email. And we need to talk about the nature of that email because I feel like it would have said, Dearest Jessica, Finn now, regards,
no. I think
John.
It would have said, Dearest Jessica, and her email address would have been, Jessica down south at hotmail.jessica or something.
Jessica _southern_gal.
Or Southern Belle.
Southern Belle.
That's what it would have been. And then it was like from John or whatever. And I think that he sent that email to break up with her, but he started off with like, time is like a clock. It keeps ticking. There are numbers and passages of the time.
I bought a new watch.
I bought a new watch. You're dumped. Love, John. Like, I think it would have had some kind of, esoteric thoughts that weren't particularly profound in there.
Okay, yeah, I agree. In the book, she wrote that he would tell her that her true self was so much greater than the person she was settling on being. Like there was some great woman inside her waiting to come out and she had to hurry up and find her because he wanted to love that woman, not her.
That's so messed up.
It's really annoying. Like, can you imagine dating someone like that and you're like, oh no, this is just me though?
Yeah, that's the problem with all relationships is they make me the best version of myself. But then when they try and make you better, you're like, fuck off, this is me.
Yeah.
It's the fundamental tension of every monogamous relationship.
It is. Let me be myself. Well, you have a lot of problems. Okay.
Be better. You can't tell me to be better. That's really rude.
Via People, she said, he studied every inch of my body, every detail of my face. He photographed me constantly to the point that I worried he was keeping souvenirs before dumping me again. I remember hearing, we have a friend who has an absurdly beautiful girlfriend. And I remember him saying like, yeah, we like had sex in the morning and then I took photos of her, like not sexual photos, just photos of her face and stuff. And I was like, I've never had a partner who took photos of me. Because they take a photo and go, oh, God. Oh, no.
No, unless I thrust a camera in my partner's face and say, take 45 photos of me standing in front of this building on holiday, he will not voluntarily ever take a photo of me. I happen to be in the background of a lot of shots with our dog, but it's like a foot or like a closed eye. He's never photographed me for fun.
Can you imagine if your partner was like, I find you so beautiful, I want to do a photo shoot?
Let me capture you right now.
No. About the sexual napalm comment, she said, I was floored and embarrassed that my grandmother was actually going to read that. A woman and how they are in bed is not something that is ever talked about. It was shocking. He was the most loyal person on the planet, and when I read that, he wasn't. and I raised his number. That is true. Can you imagine your mum reading that? And you're like, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm a mad, sexual person.
Yeah, I'm, mad wild in bed. Mum doesn't need to know that.
Jessie, moving on to Jennifer Aniston's age, because he made some comments about that. In that same Playboy interview, he wasn't that nice about Jennifer Aniston, who he dated between 2008 and 2009. He essentially said that Aniston, who was 8 years his senior, was too old for him, which begs the question, why date her?
Well, that's pretty much the age difference between me and my partner. He's 7 years younger than me. And we do have a handful of issues come up. And they are namely when he brings up things such as Farmville or Club Penguin.
Yeah, can't relate. Hard can't relate.
Never heard of such things. And I'm like, The Sims expansion pack? And he's like, I don't. Tamagotchis? No.
I don't speak old lady, that's what he says.
No, exactly right. And it becomes a source of tension, but then we find common ground when it comes to Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Okay.
Because it was what I call a bridging game. So that's what you need to do. And what was it that John Mayer thought? What made Jennifer Aniston too old for him? What could they not?
He said, in some ways I wish I could be with her, but I can't change the fact that I need to be 32. And then he said, if Jennifer Aniston knows how to use BitTorrent, I'll eat my effing shoe, which is ironic looking back. It was I think for music?
Is it like LimeWire?
Yeah.
Is it an illegal music streaming?
I know, it's good on it. She can probably afford to pay for shit.
She's probably got a Spotify premium account.
He said one of the most significant differences between us was that I was tweeting. There was a rumour that I had been dumped because I was tweeting too much. That wasn't it, but that was a big difference. The brunt of her success came before TMZ and Twitter. I think she's still hoping it goes back to 1998. She saw my involvement in technology as courting distraction, and I always said, these are the new rules. Joke's on you, mate, because nobody's on Twitter.
You're an old man. On Twitter, I would absolutely dump someone for spending too much time on Twitter. I love how he thinks the height of technological advancement is I tweet sometimes. It's okay, cool story.
I'm young.
I'm young and cool. I tweet. I use Giphies. Okay. I like the image of Jennifer Aniston on a home computer, trying to load up her home PC and hitting it and getting the cobwebs out of the way and trying to yell at it to turn on.
Yeah.
That's really, really fun for
Trying
me.
to FaceTime people and not being able to.
Yeah, it's just up her nose. As Bruce, what I would say is that John and I chatted before this interview.
Obviously.
Right?
You briefed him.
Yeah, and we speak quite candidly behind the scenes, and then we decide how he's going to say it. And he said, how do I communicate that Jennifer Aniston is old as fuck? And I went, well, you can't say it like that. You can't say it like that. You'll get cancelled. So I said, well, is she on Twitter? And he said, no. And I went, well, there you go. There's your way of communicating it. You bring up your BitTorrent, you bring up your Twitter, you bring up your iPhone and your AirPod. And
your MyFace. And your
face, your face space, your you've got your iWatch. And people will understand that she's old as fuck, and that's why it doesn't work. And that's, ultimately what happened, and it paid off really well.
What's interesting is that when John Mayer was speaking in this interview, a few months later he started going out with Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift was 19 and he was however old he was.
So he would have been at least 33, yeah.
Yeah. And I find that fascinating because it's clearly not an issue when it's the other way around, mate, is it?
No, well, that's because TikTok is silly. It's a silly app for children.
Actually, he's huge on TikTok, but anyway. When his relationship...
Whereas Twitter, he's probably sitting there trying to mansplain Twitter to Taylor Swift. No, this is the cool app. No, I bet you have a Facebook page, John.
And a
You probably
MySpace.
buy everything from Marketplace, and you were big on MySpace when they had a music following.
When his relationship with Jennifer Aniston ended, he held a weird impromptu press conference outside his New York gym and said, "I'm the asshole. I burned the American flag. I basically murdered an ideal." And that was about him breaking up with Jennifer Aniston. And it was really embarrassing because it's like, why did you have to announce to everyone that you broke up with her? It's just nobody needed that. You could just shut up. Then there's some weird racist comments. In that same Playboy interview, it was an explosive interview, I have to say. I actually feel sorry for the publications that had to write around this when it came out because you don't know where to go. Do you go, he's shaming Jennifer Aniston for being too old? Do you go, he's obliterated Jessica Simpson? Do you go, he can't stop talking about masturbation? Or do you go, really racist? Because he said some really screwed up things. He used the N-word for one, and they didn't even asterisk it out. And he was asked about the fact that lots of rappers love him. He was really close with Kanye. And he said, "What is being black? It's making the most of your life, not taking a single moment for granted, taking something that's seen as a struggle and making it work for you, or you'll die inside. Not to say that my struggle is like the collective struggle of Black America, but maybe my struggle is similar to one black dude's." No, it's not. It's not, though.
I love a white man intellectualizing and philosophizing about the black struggle in a way that he thinks is smarter than everyone else.
Whenever people say, "I'm not saying X," you are. That's why you've had to caveat by saying you're not. And then he was asked if black women throw themselves at him. And he said, "My dick is sort of like a white supremacist. I've got a Benetton Hart and an effing David Duke," he was in the KKK, "cock. I'm going to start dating separately from my dick." So I think he's saying that his penis is racist. But you control your penis?
As Bruce, after that interview, there was what we describe as a fallout.
Yeah.
And we sat down and decided how we would defend the use of the N-word by a privileged white man. And this is what I don't know if you saw this, but this is what we came up with. This was the statement we released. John released it, but I co-wrote it. "I am sorry that I used the word. And it's such a shame that I did because the point I was trying to make was in the exact opposite spirit of the word itself. It was arrogant of me to think I could intellectualize using it because I realized that there's no intellectualizing a word that is so emotionally charged." And what we've done here to give you a bit of a behind the scenes is that what we did was we said, if you were offended, it is because you're a dum-dum.
Yeah.
And I am too smart. I was intellectualizing something. I'm using my hands here, but basically my intellect is at a 10. I should have remembered yours is at a 4.
Silly me.
I'll bring it down now to just have a more a conversation where we're all on the same level. That's hard for John Mayer because there he is. He's thinking about time. He's thinking about old ladies. He's just, he's a tech genius because he's on Twitter. It's like, do you know what it's like? He might have a big cock, but he also has a big brain.
Jessie, I'm going to read out some miscellaneous comments because old mate has said a lot of things about a lot of weird things.
Yeah.
He likes talking about girls turning him down. He's quite obsessed with it. He jokes that he gets rejected a lot these days because he's seen as PR poison. Speaking about being young...
Not because people,
don't like
might
him.
not like him.
No.
That couldn't be it.
Because I'm
just,
so hot
PR.
that it's a lot for people.
Yeah.
He says, "I won't name names, but not so long ago, I gave a girl my number and she said, I probably won't use it. I actually think it's awesome too because I would have ruined her." No! You didn't even know her. Maybe she's
Thinks he's so powerful.
she didn't like you. And he's also said, "Blowing me off is the new sucking me off." He's like, "Oh, it's cool to reject me now." Yeah, because you're a loser. He also I've just got a bunch of subheadings here. So that was on arrogance and being rejected. This is on homophobia, okay?
Oh, okay. Yep.
He weirdly kissed Perez Hilton to out-gay him. So he's not gay. John Mayer says he is not gay. But it was New Year's Eve and he was dating Jessica Simpson and he was with her and he saw Perez Hilton flitting about this club and acting as though he had just invented homosexuality. He said, all of a sudden I thought, I can out-gay this guy right now. I grabbed him and gave him the dirtiest, tonguiest kiss I've ever put on anybody, almost as if I hated F word, which I'm not going to repeat. I don't think my mouth was even touching when I was tongue kissing him. That's how disgusting this kiss was. I'm a little ashamed. What? Why?
I don't think that Perez Hilton was walking around like he invented being gay. I think he was just being gay.
Perez Hilton clearly has weird feelings about it because I was looking at some Perez Hilton stuff and that's where I came across this. And he is clearly like, I get that I did some screwed up stuff to people, but this was weird. This is really strange.
I feel really weird about this.
I didn't expect it. And also,
and Jessica Simpson was right there.
And
beside him.
Exactly. And it doesn't sound like there was a lot of consent involved. You can't just kiss a man because he's gay. I don't know. That makes me very uncomfortable. Moving on vaginas. In Rolling Stone, he said, all I want to do now is F the girls I've already F'd because I can't fathom explaining myself to somebody who can't believe I'd be interested in them. And they're going, but you're John Mayer.
Oh my God. No, I didn't.
Yeah. So I'm going backwards to move forward. I'm too freaked out to meet anybody else. You need to be able to go toe-to-toe with them intellectually. But don't they also have to have a vagina you could pitch a tent on and just camp out on for like a weekend? Doesn't that have to be there too? The Joshua tree of vaginas? No. You can't. Don't pitch a tent on my vagina. That's what I say, John.
It wouldn't be good for the pH levels. It wouldn't be good for the thrush.
Another thing he loves to talk about, and there is a type of man who loves this, it's masturbation. He has said in multiple interviews that he just masturbates a lot. And he said...
You know what else I think he would talk about a lot?
What?
That smart men love to talk about?
What?
Aliens. I think
and just a throwaway comment. Yeah, there are other people out there. What, you think we're the only ones on the...
Yeah. And then he talks about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then he talks about AI. That's it.
He owns and potentially sells NFTs. And he wants to explain what they are. To me, who's like...
Yeah.
I don't care and I never will, mate. Jess, he said, I am the new generation of masturbator. I've seen it all. Before I make coffee, I've seen more buttholes than a proctologist does in a week. That's inappropriate and we don't want to know. He also told Playboy that he sometimes sees 300 vaginas before he gets out of bed. And he says, during sex, I'm just going to run a film strip. I'm still masturbating. He's basically like, during sex, I'm just thinking about stuff I've seen. What that explains is that I'm more comfortable in my imagination than I am in actual human discovery. The best days of my life are when I've dreamed about a sexual encounter with someone I've already been with. When that happens, I cannot lay off myself. You don't sound like you're that good at sex if you're always thinking about when you masturbate. Just moving on to Tay-Tay. Because Taylor Swift and John Mayer dated when she was 19 and he was 32. Ironically, it was when he was calling Jennifer Aniston old. It was between 2009 and 2010, and Taylor eventually wrote a song called Dear John that's just clearly about John Mayer. He reached out to Taylor on Twitter in March 2009. That's how their friendship started. And I just think it's weird because it's like, could he not have contacted her by any other means? The arrogance.
No, because this was after Jennifer Aniston. So he was going, look at me, tweet on my tools.
Look how I can tweet and have sex with a girl through Twitter. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, I can tweet. I can log onto my computer and look, you just go at Taylor Swift and like she gets the message. So, and this just confirms my theory that John Mayer sits in his house with one hand on his meter-long dick, and goes, that one. That's what he does. He just points around. He's got one hand on his willy, the other hand just pointing to a world map, and he just goes, that one. And he chooses Taylor Swift will be next.
Yes. So in 2010, so they went out for a little bit between 2009 and 2010. And by the end of 2010, she had released Dear John. And I just want to take a moment for the speed at which this woman writes her songs. That's so quick. She knows what she wants to say and she's ready to say it. But John wasn't happy. Even though she didn't confirm it was about him, and Dear John, like the concept, like writing a Dear John is a saying for like writing a letter to somebody where the relationship's over. Like it could be interpreted a different way. But some of the lyrics are about how, don't you think 19 is too young to be played by your dark, twisted games? Maybe it's, I've read this wrong, but she said maybe it's you and your sick need to give love and take it away. I read it as maybe it's you and your stick. Anyway, then you'll add my name to your long list of traitors who don't understand, and I'll look back and regret how I ignored when they said run as fast as you can. Anyway, clearly it's about this predator who came after her
You
on
talk
Twitter.
about aliens and time, and yes, it's very specific.
But John Mayer wasn't happy and he whinged about it. And he said Dear John was cheap songwriting and that he didn't deserve to be called out by Taylor. And I've got in my notes, mate, the things you've said about people on the record. Okay? Because he's like, oh, that's so cheap. Okay, and saying that Jessica Simpson is sexual napalm is not.
Isn't cheap.
At least she's ambiguous and didn't actually confirm it. He said, it made me feel terrible. It was a really lousy thing to do. I never got an email. And it's like, why do you only communicate by Twitter and email? I don't understand.
It's like he wants to keep, I always find it weird, people in romantic relationships who seem intent on keeping it very professional. It's like, why are we emailing with like our email signature, like John Mayer, singer-songwriter, as like his signature, but he's emailing what, his mother?
Maybe he can also email and tweet while he's masturbating, whereas he can't actively be on the phone.
Yeah, true.
You'd hear the sounds of, oh.
Look, Bruce sees your point, but John Mayer, with his big dick and his tech savviness, is critical to like the success of John Mayer. Like that is his brand. And I also liked what we did with the whole Taylor Swift situation, which was trying to play the victim. John Mayer, we went, how about we do a bit of a sad John Mayer moment, which is we've done it with Ben Affleck when we went full sad Ben. But then we went, how about a sad John? Didn't work.
No.
So we did abandon it very quickly. And then I believe what we did was write some songs about Taylor in retaliation. But what's awkward is that John hasn't written a good song in, 20 years?
Maybe 10.
Well, since Body is a Wonderland, like, come on, John, where are you?
I'm not familiar with his recent work.
Exactly. Because he's masturbating too much and it is an ongoing issue. There are only so many hours of the day.
Jess, I want to talk about the moment he realised he had actually been a dickhead for his whole career. So in a Billboard article in 2018, he said, some people still say that guy's a dick. And I go, well, any of that data you're working off is really old. I mean, I can tell you for sure that I haven't been a dick in many years. That's a really outdated take. Okay, that honestly, it's because you've been masturbating at home. So you haven't been out in order to hurt women.
No, and I feel like, the next Playboy interview he does, we'll discover 11 more things he did that made him a dick. He's kind of gone under the radar.
I think he needs to not do interviews. And the most important thing is this. When you're a celebrity and you do an interview, you're meant to give one tidbit, okay? I'm Bella Hadid. I say, got my nose done. I don't say, I've got my whole face done. I don't reveal several bombshells. It's too much. The media gets stressed. But what John Mayer seems to do is one interview lights several fires and they hurt people and they're confusing. And it's a testament to a sex addiction. It's very odd. So no more interviews.
No.
Jessie, it's time for charges and sentences.
Okay, I'm going to go first.
Yeah, you do the honours. Yep.
Charge. Being a bit yuck.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I get
making
that
me
vibe.
feel yuck in and around my vagina.
Okay. No, I understand the yuckiness.
Do you feel like he's currently looking at your vagina?
Yes. But that's almost cancelled out by the fact that I feel that he would smell very nice.
Oh, I disagree. I reckon he'd have BO. He would 100... No, this is it. You'd meet him, he'd smell fine, maybe a mask of cologne. You would get into bed and he's the type of man who would take his shirt off and then believe in like that his natural man smell is going to turn you on. So he wouldn't wear deodorant. He'd wear cologne but not deodorant.
Okay, let me just put one thing on the record, then you can continue.
Okay.
In a profile he did recently, it could have been that Billboard one, or maybe it was a Playboy one, he was in like a restaurant getting interviewed and a group of women walked in and he could pick the scent of their perfume.
That's because he's slept with 5 million women. Like, of course he can.
I just feel like he's into smell. Okay, go.
Nah, he fucking stinks. He stinks in his armpits. He does. I know it. His sentence is to stop it, which is often the sentence.
Yeah, it is.
Stop being so sexual, specifically with your words, but also your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's making people uncomfortable. He does this face
Aaliyah.
that gives me the ick. It's like, get away. Get away. My other sentence is chill for a moment. Stop with the masturbating. Stop with the, like, getting your waggy dick around. Just stop it. And whenever he sings, he looks like he's having an orgasm. Like,
yeah.
Every time he sings, there is an element of, no more moaning. We've had enough moaning from you for one career.
No more moaning. I was going to say, do you remember puppetry of the penis?
I think he'd do that.
I think he'd participate. Okay, I have a charge that I think sums it all up, all right?
Okay.
It's thinking his guitar is a penis.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Jessie, in order to sort of further portray this point, I have some pictures for you. Do you want to describe what you're seeing in these images? Here's one.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. He holds his electric guitar right where his penis is, and then he strums it sexually, as though he. Oh wow! In all of them. Yes. Okay. Yes. He appears to be what I would describe as fingering his own penis, which is so sexual and confronting.
It is, isn't it? And as a sentence, I think that that's really his problem. And that's honestly where he's got confused, isn't it? Is that he's gone, my guitar is a penis, I'm very good at guitar, I'm very good at penis. It's just, it's blurred lines. And my sentence is, his guitar starts behaving like a penis. Sometimes it becomes erect. When you play with it, for example, it becomes erect. And when you play
that would be so confusing.
When you play a very intense song, it spurts liquid and you gotta clean it. Okay.
No, Claire, the worst part is that sometimes midway through the show, it's not always erect, so it goes floppy. Imagine trying to play a floppy guitar.
But I just think it's important that the liquid comes out the bit with the thing.
We know.
And it comes through the strings because they are pipes.
Yes.
Like the ones that carry semen.
Yes.
You also can't just whip out your guitar in public. Just like you can't whip out your dick in public. That's important.
It needs like a little hat.
Well, I've said it needs to be covered specifically by pants. All right? He needs pants
so difficult
for his guitar, and he needs to be careful how he plays it because it could go unpredictable and spurt over the audience, and that is a crime.
Yes. Tuck it in, John Mayer.
Tuck your guitar in because you think it's a penis. And that's what's really gotten you in a weird spot. That's all we've got time for on Cancelled today. As always, what we do after our episodes, it's Jessie's one job, and sometimes it takes her a couple of days, but she does do it every time. What she does is she goes to the twins_thoughts, that's our Instagram, and she puts up the evidence. So we will have multiple images of John Mayer playing with a guitar that looks like he is playing with his own penis.
Yeah, we'll put up the images of like all his lady friends. I'll do the images where I think it looks like he's having an orgasm on stage. All the evidence, it will be there. Go and check it out. Cancelled is produced by Rose Kerr, and the head of podcast at Mamamia is Eliza Ratliff. And we will chat to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.